Hi, do you care about Roblox and or Roblox games being explained to your stupid head in exact detail to the span of 10 to 15 minutes? No? Someone kill that guy. Hi guys, and welcome to Dat Boy Talks, where I do exactly what I just explained in the intro. Today's subject, Doors. The hit game everyone has been playing and rambling on about since its first release. For the sake of my sanity, I will be talking only about the base game with the newest update Doors has to offer, excluding its hard mode that just came out. This is something I've been wanting to do for a while now, like a year or two, but my brain was like, haha, no, until today, So I'm glad you're here, wherever you came from, whether it be TikTok, Twitter, WhatsApp. So sit back, relax, grab some Cheez-Its, a warm blanket, your mother's ashes, and get ready for this deep dive I call Dat Boy Talks. Doors is a horror game that introduces itself as a, and I quote, new and unique horror game involving doors. Created on the 14th of March 2021 by LSP Lash, or however you say it, with a hit total of 2.7 billion visits as the day of this recording. I don't know the full backstory of how this game came to be or how it was created in such a random time period, but what I do know is that it was built off of a past game called Rooms, a small game created by the creator known as Nico Rocks 5555, with a very little gameplay mechanics, but all around the same idea, which is just roam around the room with doors. This game is just as you would expect. It's pretty bland. And since this video is about doors and not rooms, I will go no further trying to entertain you with something I have little excitement for. So let us boot up Doors, shall we? The game starts off by explaining how it's not made for piss babies and people over the age of 40, before sending you into a lobby full of kids playing with their new iPad Plus that they just got for their 7th birthday. There's a few things to note here, like the shop where you use Robux to purchase items that'll help you in their supposed death run, a button to enter Twitter codes, an achievement list, some settings, and a new VC-only lobby. Back to the shop. The currency Doors has come up with are knobs, doorknobs. There is another type of currency in the game that I will elaborate a little more later on. After 5 seconds of gathering the courage to face the utmost horrifying experience Doors has to offer, you step into one of the very many elevators with randoms, which I highly wouldn't suggest for your first run, few friends, or go in solo for the best experience. After a few seconds, if you're not playing on an absolute dumpster fire of a computer, you'll be loaded into an elevator with the funkiest music you could ever imagine, and a few options at your disposal. These options are stuff you can buy before entering the game that'll help you survive your run. A flashlight, which requires batteries to keep lit, of course. Vitamins, which sounds strange, but actually provides a speed boost for a short period of time. This will come in handy. Lighter, which isn't in one direction as the flashlight, but rather in a close proximity for you and other players. And lockpicks, to unlock doors with locks on it, of course, which I will also explain later on. After jamming out to the elevator music for a while, you're finally jumped into the run with whatever items you spent your well-earned knobs on, and a hotel lobby with nothing but a bell that rings a few times before breaking. Reach over the desk and get the key, and get ready for a few scares. The rooms and doors consist of a few things. Windows that always consist of rain and nothing but an empty void. Desks which you can interact with that consist of gold coins, lighters, bandages, batteries, flashlights, Timothy, vitamins, etc, etc. Or they could just be plain up empty. If you're wondering what the a Timothy is, it is one of the many entities you'll have to deal with in the near future, which I'll get to later. Just wait a damn minute. Closets for you to hide in case certain entities enter the room, but be wary of how long you stay in these things. Lights can occasionally flicker that dictate certain events that may occur, and paintings that once interacted with tells you the name of this specific painting you're looking at. Well, isn't that neat? Once you've gathered it all in, it's time to go through the doors for hours on end.
Well, that boy, isn't that boring and so
Do
unoriginal?
not speak to me while I am talking, you cunt.
The mechanics in this game isn't as simple as just roaming through doors. There will be changes to these rooms that keep the game from being a constant straight path towards your imminent demise, such as changes like new rooms, lever pulling rooms, item looting rooms, dark rooms, key rooms, construction rooms, long hallway rooms, stairway rooms, enclosed spaces rooms, gay rooms. Most of these rooms aren't important to note on, other than a few rooms that play important parts in events that occur randomly upon your arrival. That leading into the most important subject about doors. The Doors entities are one of the most iconic part of its series, in a way that keep you on your feet constantly and occur at any given time. The one I will be starting with is the most commonly seen entity there is, and it is literally unavoidable every time you play. Rush. Good for nothing jockey that is simple but yet effective. He, a JPEG image of a dark, happy moon, will appear at random, unless something else is at bay. He will be known for making your lights flicker upon entering a room, following a loud staticky scream in the opposite direction you're coming from. To stop this abomination from reaching you in ending your run, find the nearest closet or bed to hide in, so you see him pass by. It will also shut off the lights in the current room you're hiding in, so be wary. There's also a way to hide from him without actually hiding in a closet, which on everyone I've possibly been on has yet failed to work, so I don't know, go search it up. Failing to do so will result in a jump scare. This gives me the opportunity to talk about the other entity that appears once you've lost a match, the Spirit. It will tell you the names of the entity you've died by and how to avoid it from happening again. And once you've died by it multiple times, it will taunt you for your failures. So make sure to skip them once you're at the limit of smashing your keyboard. The next entity I'm going to talk about is the one I've talked to you about beforehand, called Timothy. I fucking hate Timothy. Timothy is unfortunately a spider that hides in the desk with a very low chance of popping out and jump scaring the player, causing minor health damage. I don't have a huge fear of spiders, but this thing is absolutely heart-clenching to have appear right in front of you. The amount of times I scream like a little girl once this stupid-ass spider appeared in my face is an embarrassingly large number. LSP Lash. Remove this feature, or I will hate you forever. Please and thank you. Next we have Ennard. What? Oh, I'm sorry, wrong game. Ambush, which is an exact replica of Rush other than its appearance and its mechanic twist. Ambush will have a loud echoey sound cue that will occur once a game, and shortly after will follow up with a rushing 10 times faster than Rush through the halls back and forth for around 2 to 5 times. To avoid this monstrosity, simply hide in the closet once you hear him nearby, and after he makes a full in and out inside of the room you're in, simply exit the closet. Do this mechanic a few times until he gets tired of your little hiding shenanigans and leave. Halt is a strange entity with the ability to transport you into a strange hallway into another dimension that consists of only a straight path, you, and Halt. Now don't panic. This might seem like a difficult entity to deal with, considering it occurs after entering a room randomly, but what if I told you to conquer this entity, all you have to do is simply move back and forth. Literally all you have to do is turn around and keep moving once you see the turnaround prompt on your screen. It's surprisingly easy, other than the first time you meet him, which in my case was the most confusing shit I've ever had to deal with. Dupe is a newly added entity with the ability to require you to use something you're not used to using, your brain meat. Dupe will not appear in front of you. Rather, he will be hiding behind one of 2 doors. Both doors have numbers on them, but only one door is the right door. To figure out the correct door to enter in, you must remember what door you were on previously, and go to the next door number. That's pretty easy. I'll just go to the door I just left and check if they're, oh, okay. That's not right. Choosing the wrong door will result in, haha, you guessed it, a jump scare from Dupe himself. To me, I actually like this mechanic. It balances out people's memory with all the other crazy, wacky events that occur in the hotel, which works heavenly with the gameplay, which I feel the exact opposite for this next entity. This inky ass gumball's only purpose is to keep you doing 360s the entire game the moment you enter a dark room. Basically, Screech has a good chance of spawning around you in a room that is dark, and if you don't have a light in hand, you'll hear a slight psst following his presence. When this happens, you're supposed to look directly at him to scare him off, which isn't a bad mechanic. No, that's not the problem. The problem is that Screech not only has the ability to spawn multiple times, but doesn't require a sound cue every time he's near, basically indicating that he could be eyeballing you at any given moment with no indication of his presence, which is absolute bullcrap. The amount of times I've been spinning my mouse up and down looking for this insect of a creature to spawn just to still jump scare me when I scare him off is preposterous. Absolutely and utterly ludicrous. Dear LSP Lash, remove Screech from the game. He is stinky and no one loves him. I wish you the utmost best. From that boy. Eyes is a bundle of purple eyes that can spawn with a hypnotizing tone in the next room you enter at random. Simply don't look at it. Doing so will result in health depletion, and after a while, an end to your run. Seek at first spawns a few eyes on the walls once you enter a room, following a flicker of lights. Each time you progress a room, the eyes will grow in number and constantly stare at you as you move through the room. Oh wait, is this a painting? After a few rooms with no eyes, a room following it with no eyes, and just a hallway will end up showing up. Progressing through this hallway triggers a cutscene with Seek climbing through an inky pile on the floor and straight up bolting towards you, which his animation is improved on in the last update. To avoid your certain demise, follow the glowing lights that guide you to the correct path to avoid getting caught, which also results in an end to your run if you get caught. Looking back after you complete his chase, and you can see him trying his hardest to catch up to you as the door slams shut on his face.
Helpless ratio.
Seek occurs twice every run, with his second run being longer and more challenging than the last, but results in a large portion of doors being skipped, so hooray. Figure is just a large mouth fleshy kind of guy who appears on door 50, which I will get to in a bit. With Figure's lack of eye sockets, of course he cannot see. With this, he uses the next thing he has to his disposal, hearing, even though he has no ears. To avoid him as he roams through the library, simply just avoid contact with him at all costs. Crouching is the utmost used thing in this floor, as he will hear your footsteps if you aren't prone. If you are unfortunately caught unprone or just directly in front of him, don't panic. Hide in the nearest closet, which usually keeps him at bay. Oh, never mind. Hiding from Figure will trigger an event that's basically Friday Night Funkin' with only 2 keys. Fail to click and or tap in time, and passing this test will cause him to get bored of you and walk away in most cases. To some, sadly, he will glitch and force the player to play Friday Night Funkin' for the rest of their eternal damnation. Getting back to room 50, the room before it, 49, is a library entrance that follows a large reception desk with the number 50 platted on it. Moving through this door triggers another cutscene where Figure basically finds out you're near and starts roaming the halls of the library. To exit this room, you need a code, which is unfortunately spread out between the loose books on the bookshelves. Collect all the books and grab the white paper from the side reception desk on the left and figure out the code based on which shapes match with which numbers. Doing this correctly opens the door for you to escape, but be wary, as if your friends aren't near once that door is open,
All for nothing at all.
following the room is the newly added Jeff shop, where you can purchase items such as the skull key, a crucifix, a few normal items that you could have purchased at the start, and a tip jar with the gold coins you've received throughout your run, which you are a heartless maggot if you choose to ignore the tip jar. Behind the register is Jeff. He is non-hostile and loves when you give him tips. Epic. Next to him is a few buddies that are also non-hostile, named El Goblino, the only person with dialogue in this game for some reason, and Bob, who apparently does nothing once you interact with him. Goblino has a few words of encouragement upon talking to him, and is honestly a funny little goblin to chat with. He mentions how this place is a good resting spot, so spend as much time there as you need. You're gonna need it. Putting a stop on the entities real quick, the 2 new items added are, like said, the skull key and the crucifix. The skull key can be used in a later room that has a door with a skull on it that leads to a massive amounts of gold coins and a plant that regens health slowly in time. The crucifix is a wooden tool that's literally a totem of undying. Use this bad boy on any of the goofy entities that spawn your way to keep them at bay for a while. In my personal experience, keeping these until door 90 is the best option. Trust me, you'll see why. Going back to entities, there are no more. Well, not any of the main ones. Jack is a horrifying PNG image that resides behind doors and closets with a very rare spawn rate, so I wouldn't recommend worrying about him, even though he appears at the worst moments. Void's appearance is unknown, hence the name and such. His sole purpose is to bring lost players back to speed by teleporting them to the farthest player in the game. Pretty neat, huh? Glitch is the worst. Well, to be fair, I've hardly seen him, considering his low spawn rate, but I'd be lying if I didn't say he made my heart dissemble. Glitch acts as a failsafe for the players when a room fails to generate correctly, and formally teleports the players back to their group in a multiplayer run. Which sounds fair, but giving the loud-ass T-posing jump scare he gives you once he teleports you is by far the worst way to have it happen in any game. And lastly, Shadow, which I have not yet seen appear in any of my games yet. Apparently, in the Wikipedia page, Shadow is an entity that can appear when the player enters a room in their hotel. It is one of the rarest entities that can be encountered in the hotel. I don't know much else about him, sadly, so let's continue off this category, shall we? A1000 is a sort of Easter egg in one of the rooms following the lever room. This room is the torn up room with the uninteractable closet that once you look behind consists of a dark maze. Following this maze leads you to a golden room with 2 normal locks and a skull key lock that is required to open this said door. Now, if you were an imbecile of a man to listen to me when the first half and use your only skull key on the precious skull door, then you, my friend, are royally screwed. If you didn't, however, and gathered enough lockpicks to get this door open, then you are in for a little surprise. Upon entering this room, Roblox transports you into an entirely new game called Rooms, or The Rooms, with your items and a flashlight near you that looks transparent and green for some reason. This flashlight has the ability to light up only by clicking it multiple times. I hate this mechanic. Following this is another Doors game that is following the original path of the game that inspired Doors in the first place, Rooms, but with a few new entities and mechanics at your disposal. The entities in this game are labeled by number, so the first one you'll have to deal with is A60. A60 is a red corrupted form of Rush that has a louder sound cue upon arrival and appears a lot faster than Rush, labeling him as a difficult entity at hand. Getting caught by this entity not only ends in a jump scare, but also interrupts you with a new spirit guiding you on your path to success on the next run. Although he's stupid, A90 shows up on the player screen and attacks shortly thereafter if the player doesn't stop moving in time. For some reason, I've never beat this entity. Maybe he's a little too fast for me, but hey, I've only played the rooms once, so I'm not as curious as to learning how to stop him in the first place. A120 spawns randomly in a room ahead of the last open door, charging through rooms and killing any of the players in its way. Its audio cue sounds like metallic thumps. It's not as fast as the others, but its presence never fails to make me unhinged. And of course, Glitch still resides in this room for some strange reason. There's not much else to the gameplay other than the new office type aesthetic and the fact that there's now 1,000 doors instead of 100. But if you somehow pass the utmost undescribably boring gameplay, then you will be rewarded with none other than being put back to where you were in the last game. What? The greenhouse is newly added and by far the hardest challenge Doors has to offer. Being right after you gaze at an amazing sight of the only area that is outside apparently is the greenhouse, which its gameplay style is a bit harsh. There are only 3 entities that can appear here: Russ, Screech, and Eyes from what I know of.
Screech? I thought it had to be dark for Screech to appear.
Ooh, you silly dumb-minded imbecile. LSP Lash gives you a special type of punishment, whereas the entirety of rooms 90 throughout 99 are fully pitch black, which leaves Screech all the room in the world to attack you. Following Rush, who, considering the occurrence of no light bulbs, gives you no indication that he's coming, other than his sound cues that are hardly audible, giving a loud thundering in the background. Not only that, but you have bear traps that keep you still and deplete health scattered around the map. The amount of times I've died in the greenhouse is unimaginable and unreasonably the worst part of the game. Although, I wouldn't say to remove it from the game entirely. Yeah, it's a difficult thing to get past with the little materials you have left, but if you listened to me previously in the video, you would have saved your crucifix for this very moment. So it's nothing but the player's fault if they don't keep up with their inventory at this time. If they die, it's on them. Doors' ending has always been an iconic part in the series, as it plays a very fun change of pace in the normal gameplay style beforehand, by bringing back the figure in an all-new area that has almost no aspect of a hotel whatsoever. With the new update, the ending has changed a lot, so to stay on subject with the new Doors update, I will be only focusing on the new part as a whole. Once reaching door 100, you are greeted with the almost fully abandoned facility that appears to be run down and broken in several places. As you continue forward, you are greeted with a lever to a large gate that opens upon pulling it, and a locked door next to it. And none other than our buddy and close pal Figure shows up to join the fun. With his arrival, you must immediately run backwards and hide in one of the closets you've seen previously, and do another Friday Night Funkin', oh my god. Once he leaves, you can traverse ahead where he entered from and either explore upwards or downwards. Exploring downwards leads you to something called the Rift. That is a cracked beam of light used to store items that can be saved for the next round. Very handy for future you. Exploring upwards leads you to an elevator shaft that can't be opened yet, and a key that leads to the locked room I mentioned earlier. Going back to the room, you'll see a circuit breaker with no breaker switches. Your task is to roam the same halls as Figure and avoid him as you pick up all 10 breaker switches that are randomly generated throughout the map and bring them back to the circuit breaker. Once you've collected all 10, start up that bad boy and you're rewarded with none other than a cutscene of Figure being burned alive as he jumps through a fucking window. Oh my god. After this masterpiece of a scene, there is another puzzle. To solve it, you need to click each switch number that blinks white and keep each switch black off. Do this 3 times as it speeds up, and you're immediately reminded that you are now in a burning building and need to get to the elevator shaft as soon as possible. But oh wait, Figure is bursting through the door behind you, putting more pressure on the player as he needs to run through hell trying to get to the elevator shaft in time. And once you finally do, you're rewarded with the most iconic part of the Doors franchise it has to offer. So, that was the Doors Update Plus. Well, from the gameplay perspective, that is. Audio played a major part in this series, as it would help you avoid dying in many cases, and help pinpoint where certain things were as well. Not only that, but the ambience in the background, like the doors knocking, or footsteps, or weird noises you hear behind the walls, to even the fake psst ambience the game supplies the player to keep them on their feet. All of these sounds play a major part in Doors' scare factor, which I personally loved every second of. It really enhances the gameplay and sets the mood right when it needs to. But excluding that, the OST is an absolute bop. It's iconic, simple, and just straight up one of my most favorite aspects of the game it has to offer, and a sense of clarity and accomplishment with its end track. And I'm not the only one who can proudly say they love the OST as well. The jump scares weren't all that scary, but it provided much of an uncertainty type of game. Like, you can't depict what's gonna happen next, which kept me on the edge of my seat every time I booted up a match. And I'm not sure if you heard, this game is in fact multiplayer, so you can play this game with your buddies on quality VC or just standard Discord, whichever is your choice. Playing this game with friends makes the experience 10 times better and makes the entertainment factor increase a lot in my opinion. There wasn't one time where I played this game with friends and felt a sense of boredom. And yeah, I hardly play it alone, but the balancing with the trial and error gameplay loop, randomizing event occurrings, Easter eggs, point systems, and not so cheap jump scares, I'd say it's quite enjoyable. LSP Lash. Your funny hotel game made me laugh with me and my friends. And once the second floor update drops, you best believe I'll be there. Signed, Dat Boy.